Sound. Hey, I'm live. Welcome. All right. Welcome to our membership class. So we welcome those who are watching on live streaming or recording, and we welcome all of you who are here. So I'd like us just to give our first names so everyone knows each other's first name.
I changed my name to Bonita. That's my middle name. So, hi, my name is Bonita.
Oh, I know her as Marcia, but it's Bonita. Okay.
I'm Bonita. I go by my middle name as well. It's Hinano.
Nano? Inano.
I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
This is Sue.
Thank you.
Kelly.
Kelly.
Michael.
Michael.
Francia.
Francia. Okay, thank you. And Mark is back here. All right. Well, it's so good to have all of you here. And I'm going to hand out to those who are physically present so that you can take some notes, you can answer questions. Because you'll be tested on this next week. What? Are you kidding me? Yep. No, really, I am going to test. And we'll have to find a way to get this online, too. All right. Hi. There you go. You want one, Doug? There you go. All right. You want one, Mark? Are you hanging out? Okay. So, that wind is catching my microphone, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. So, Unity 101 membership class.
Meditation.
Yeah, let's do a short meditation. Thanks for the reminder. So please take a deep breath. Hi, Eric. Feel the presence of peace within you. The presence of love. The presence of God. Right where you are, God is. Feel that presence. Feel that presence as wholeness, as health, as peace. We know right where we are, God is. Let's go into a few moments, just silent communion with Spirit. Feel peace washing over you. Renewing your body, every cell of your body, the muscles, the tissue. Allow this presence of Spirit to flow in, through, and as you. Peace. Be still. Peace. Be still. When we open our minds, we open our hearts to receive new truth, to receive new learning. When we open ourselves to the possibilities, we are grateful and give thanks. Feel where you are sitting. Slowly allow yourself to become aware of where you are sitting and where we are at. If you would like, wiggle your fingers or your toes. Take a deep breath and slowly allow your eyes to open. Thank you all for being here, for taking an afternoon to have this membership class. And so this is a time to interact. It's a time to ask questions that you've always wanted to know about unity. I may or may not know the answer, but we will find them together. And thank you. We have some sheets here with some questions on it. Eric needs one to your left. Yeah. And as that opening meditation demonstrates, unity was founded on the principle of meditation and prayer, of connecting with our source, of connecting with God. Let me start with the person who's called the teacher of teachers. And you see on this sheet, it asks, who is called the teacher of teachers? Now, what we're talking about here is in the New Thought movement, and let me explain that term. New Thought was so termed because it was a new thought about Jesus, new thought about Christ's teachings. And actually, it's not new. It's going back to the time of Jesus, that there were many people who had beliefs and practices similar to our own, but over the years, a lot of those things got kind of drummed out of people. So in many ways, unity is a renewal, as are other New Thought traditions, a renewal of many of these teachings and perspectives. So the teacher of teachers is Emma Curtis Hopkins. The reason she is called the teacher of teachers is that she worked with people such as Ernest Holmes. Ernest Holmes wrote a phenomenal book, one of my all-time favorite books, called The Science of Mind. And he developed a group called religious science. Religious science, not Christian science, but religious science. Because they were looking at ways to interact with the world and interact and use this divine energy in a way that anybody could do it, like science. Like any one of us, if we jump off the roof, chances are pretty good that you will come down. They're pretty good. And it's science. It's like the law of gravity. You jump off a roof, you'll probably come down. Unless there's some very unusual conditions, like a lot of air blowing up from the other way, or you're Superman, or something like that. So in the same way, in the New Thought movement, people were looking at how do we pray in a way that people experience a new way of living? How do we do things in a way that anybody can do, no matter what culture, no matter what religion? And so Ernest Holmes was one of those teachers. Melinda Kramer with what is called divine science, okay? And Her, along with the Brooks sisters in Colorado, formed Divine Science, and Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore are the co-founders of the Unity movement. Let me show you a picture of them. All right. So this is Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. You can see some pictures of them, earlier on and then later in life. Both of them had severe physical challenges. In the case of Myrtle Fillmore, she was told, beginning at about age 5, that she had inherited tuberculosis. Many people in her family had tuberculosis, and she was told she had inherited it. Now, we know today that it's something you catch. It's not something you inherit. But she was taught this. And so throughout her life, she faced a lot of sickness. She faced a lot of weakness. She faced a lot of difficulties. And she went to college, which was unusual back in that day, in the 1800s, for a woman to graduate from college, became a teacher, and pretty well-to-do family, an educated family. She connected with this guy, Charles Fillmore. Now, Charles was one of these people who, I'm trying to remember how far he went in school. Seems to me like 6th grade. And at one point, he lived on an Indian reservation in Minnesota, was it? Minnesota. And so he was, this person who had learned to live in all sorts of ways, but he had this insatiable hunger for knowledge and for understanding. He got a tutor who began to teach him Shakespeare, Emerson, Plato, began to teach him philosophy, began to open his mind to all kinds of things. And his mind became more and more interested in spiritual things. Well, as young adults, he and Myrtle began this correspondence, this connection. And in one of his letters, now Myrtle grew up in a Christian family, Methodist, I believe it was. And Charles, not so much. And at one point, Charles wrote a letter to Myrtle saying, basically questioning her orthodoxy. You know that word? Like, as a Christian, it seemed to him that she was not as orthodox, not as traditional as many Christians that he had talked to. And so he was questioning her about it. And she wrote him a letter back and said this, and this is a quote, "I am decidedly eclectic." Decidedly eclectic. That is, she was borrowing from lots of different sources. They were searchers. They were exploring lots of different philosophies and religions. Having studied the life of Charles Fillmore and the various influences of his life, he was influenced by lots of different kinds of philosophy. He was influenced by Emanuel Swedenborg, if you're familiar with Swedenborgians. These were people who were on the cutting edge of spirituality. He studied theosophy. He studied spiritualism. He studied Kabbalah. He had connections with Sufism. He explored Hinduism. And of course, he deeply explored Christianity. So I feel a kinship with him because I've done the same thing. And so they had this spiritual journey that they were on, and they went to a lecture. Now, remember, Myrtle had been told that she had inherited tuberculosis. By this point in her life, she was told that she had terminal tuberculosis, that she only had about 6 more months to live when they went to this lecture. Charles had had a skating accident, and at times his hip was even necrotic from dead tissue in his hip, and his one leg had shriveled and so forth. So he had to wear a brace. And so both these people went to a lecture by a man named E.B. Weeks. And in this lecture, let's see, have I talked about that yet? No, that's okay. So, question number 3, who are the co-founders of the Unity Movement? Who are they? Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Okay, right here. And so at this lecture, Charles wasn't too impressed with the lecture. I don't know why. I don't know if Charles was tired that day and fell asleep. I don't know what happened. He was not that impressed. Myrtle, on the other hand, heard something in the lecture that just stuck with her. And there was this statement: I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. I am a child of God. Oh, this is number 4. Myrtle Fillmore used a powerful affirmation from E.B. Weeks to treat herself. What is that affirmation together? I am a child of God. Therefore, I do not inherit sickness. Let's say it together. I am a child of God. Therefore, I do not inherit sickness. Now, this is a very important concept. She had been taught all her life that she had inherited sickness. With this, and this is an affirmation coupled with a denial. The affirmation is, I am a child of God. Let's say that together. I am a child of God. The denial, and a denial is where you're gently sweeping away error. The denial is, therefore, I do not inherit sickness. Let's say that together. Therefore, I do not inherit sickness. That was very important to her because she had been told that she did inherit sickness. But when she realized who her true father was, who her true source was, and that source, that father is God, how could she inherit sickness from that? And so for 2 years, she used this affirmation as well as hours every day. She would talk to the various organs of her body, talk to the various parts of her body. She would ask them for forgiveness for having ever called any of them weak or sick. And she affirmed only health. And she would sit with another chair, an empty chair. Do you know who the empty chair was for? Jesus. The empty chair was for Jesus. So she would sit with Jesus for hours and talk with her body and work with her body. Now, she had been told that she would die within 6 months. 2 years later, there is no sign of disease in her body. Zip. Nada. Amazing, huh? Now, this got Charles' attention. He wasn't so, the lecture part, that didn't do it for him. But when he saw what his wife did and what she was able to demonstrate in her life, that got his attention. And so he began to do this prayer work as well. He began to do this meditation work and use it with his hip and his leg. Now, they were very, very dedicated people. They would invest hours each day doing this work. And they were some of the pioneers doing this kind of work. Would you believe that Charles got to the point where he no longer had to wear a brace on his leg? And that, would you believe that eventually that leg that had been shorter and more shriveled than the other one actually grew? I mean, this was amazing stuff. And so people, yeah? Oh, thank you. And so people were like, pray with us. And people began lining up to pray with Myrtle and Charles. They would line up, sometimes blocks long, so that they could have a prayer treatment with Myrtle and Charles. And they would know the truth with these people. And people would experience the presence of God in themselves. And people would experience healing, and they would experience all kinds of amazing things, realizing that those limitations they had put on themselves were error. Wow, this is revolutionary. But the Fillmores didn't want to start a church. They thought there were already too many. They wanted to start a movement, a prayer movement, to help people who are from all different traditions and all different churches and work with them and send them back to their own churches. So here's an important thing about unity. We don't put other faiths down. Yeah, sometimes I refer to my conservative fundamentalist past and have fun with it, but actually I love them, and my family is still very much engaged in that, and we get along very well on a spiritual level and on all levels. We don't put other faiths or traditions down. If a person is Muslim, if they are Buddhist, if they're Hindu, if they're an atheist. When I was at Unity of Wichita, I had a young man with a rainbow-colored mohawk and, piercings and all kinds of doodads. And he came to me and he said, "Is an atheist welcomed here?" I said, "Absolutely." And so he continued to come. And, he would tell me, Pastor Tim, I sometimes have problems with the G word. The G word, God, But he said, I feel something here. I like it. And I do believe that there is something in me, and that something connects with other people, that somehow we're all interconnected. I'm like, And he continued to come, and he got more and more excited, and he became a member. I mean, this is a bartender at a gay bar, but he was, there was something about this that it was awakening in him. And so, just so you know, we're very inclusive. Like Myrtle Fillmore, decidedly eclectic. And yet Unity has very strong and a lot of different principles and teachings that we offer to people as tools. And we don't force them on anybody. Like, to become a member, you don't have to subscribe to a particular list of, okay, I'm going to believe this and this and this and this. But we offer those to you as tools. It's kind of like when I was a kid, I don't know what my parents were thinking, but they gave me a toy saw, a real saw. It was metal, but it was just small. And I thought, okay, thanks for the gift. And, I started sawing away on things, right? What are you going to do with a saw? So we give you the tools, and we help you to know how to use them, which, that I needed a little more help with that as a kid. But we help you to know how to use them, and then it's up to you how you use them. It's up to you what you want to create. It's up to you how you want to create your life. So this is what the Fillmores taught. And people continued to come, and pretty soon they're like, could you do a Sunday service? And Charles is like, I don't think so, because I want people to go back to their own churches. We don't want to start a church. We just, but people kept encouraging that. And eventually they started services, but the Fillmores were wanting people to go back to their own churches. But more and more, as people gravitated around these teachings and these practices, they wanted to be together. They wanted to be there. Now, we've always had people who are double or triple dipping. And I love double and triple dippers. I double dipped for a long time. I still double dip. Actually, more than double dip. What I mean by that is that there are people who come here and get involved who are involved elsewhere. The Buddhist temple, at the Krishna temple, at the Jewish synagogue, at Catholic Mass, So I've had people say, well, on Saturday night, I go to Catholic Mass and I receive the sacraments. And because that's important to them. It's meaningful to them. But then they say, I come to Unity to learn. I come to Unity because I enjoy connecting with the people. I come to Unity because it feels more alive. Now, that's not to put... I've been a part of the Catholic Church, and there's many wonderful practices there, so it's not like they're all like that. But I'm just saying, you don't have to give up your affiliation with something in order to be a part of what we do here. Had someone in Wichita come up to me and said, do you accept Jews here? I said, yeah, Jesus was a Jew. How would I kick out Jews? And she got more and more involved and became one of our primary prayer chaplains. So just be open to how Spirit is working with you. That's what the Fillmores were teaching us. How many of these things have I... So, number 5, as we go through this, you might think of some ways in which we may be unique from some other churches. Not all churches say, belong to as many churches and groups as you want. But if we can be of help, if we can be of support, if we can help teach you some of these spiritual truths and tools, then excellent. So that's definitely one of the differences about us. And also, Unity is an open-ended approach to spirituality. A closed approach would be more like if you have a creed, and here is the exact creed that you need to answer to all these points, and you need to know. That's a little more close. Whereas in Unity, Charles Fillmore taught that we have some amazing spiritual truths for people, and this is not the end of it. It will continue to grow. It will continue to evolve. He never saw it as a finished product. So it continues to grow and evolve. Did I skip one? No. Okay. So, as the Unity movement grew, any of you know what this place is? Unity Village. This is in Kansas City, Missouri. It's in it's next to Lee's Summit, Missouri, which is a suburb of Kansas City. But Unity Village is its own municipality. It has its own zip code, so it's its own suburb of the Kansas City metro area. But when one is there, at least when I'm there, I forget that I'm in the city. Because it has like 1,400 acres of woods and wildlife preserve. It has 2 beautiful lakes. It has a golf course. It has this Italian Renaissance architecture everywhere. and it's very quiet and peaceful. I feel like I'm in another world. But it's in the Kansas City, Missouri area. So Charles Fillmore had been in real estate. He was a businessman. And they had this property that they had bought, which originally was called Unity Farm. Unity Farm, because they would grow produce, all kinds of fruit. They would, raise food. And the Fillmores were very dedicated vegetarians. And they believed in that very, very strongly in order to regenerate the body and to regenerate the spirit. So all the food there was vegetarian at Unity Village. And they had their headquarters at 9th and Tracy, however, in Kansas City, but they would have these retreats and big gatherings at Unity Farm. Well, we see here part of Unity Village, and it developed into our world headquarters. So you see these beautiful Italian Renaissance buildings, and it has, this fountain display is about the length of a football field, about 100 yards long. So Kansas City is called the City of Fountains, and Unity Village has perhaps the largest fountain display in the Kansas City area. They also have a nationally recognized rose garden. Here's a more aerial view of Unity Village with the tower right here in the middle. That is the water tower. Water comes from this tower. Okay, it's come from these lakes, and then there's a water tower right here, and the pressure from that supplies the water to the entire village. And there's tunnels underneath these buildings, and they interconnect. So during the winter, or if it's raining, people are going from building to building through these tunnels. And there's even a second layer of tunnels. I like to explore, but that's another story. Okay, and this right here used to be the seminary building, but first it was Silent Unity, built in 1928. Silent Unity. Do we have a copy of the Daily Word in here, by any chance? I bet we do. Not today's, but we have one. Okay, perfect. So the Daily Word, we read from these in the Sunday services, and you can get a copy. Has a daily devotional guide for each day of the year. It has a devotional meditation guide, and then it has a scripture at the end. This is a publication from Unity Village, and they describe, where are you? I will find it. Silent Unity. Silent Unity, and let me give you that number because I have an assignment for you. I'm not finding it. I always see the Silent Unity thing in here. Anyway, okay. Typically I can just, it is on this. Free resources for your spiritual journey. Silent Unity. Anytime, day or night, 24 hours a day, holidays, whatever, you can call Silent Unity. And the easiest way for me to remember the number is 1-800-NOW-PRAY. 1-800-NOW-PRAY. And you can call anytime, day or night. So here's your homework. Your homework is to call Silent Unity this week. It can be something that you're grateful for. It can be something that you're praying for. It can be something that you have a concern about. And sometimes they're busy, and you'll hear this nice music and affirmations, And hi, welcome. And then someone will come on the line, and it is a telephone prayer ministry individual, TPM, telephone prayer ministry. And they will come on the line, and they will say something like, "Thank you for calling Silent Unity. How may we pray with you? How may we pray with you?" So they don't see it as praying for you, it's praying with you. It's something that's collaborative, and it's not something that is one is higher than the other, but you're in this together. And you can tell them, "I'm so grateful that I have a good job and regular paychecks. I'm so grateful for my children." You can say, "Oh, I'm praying for this job situation, or to get a job, or whatever it may be." So there's your assignment, to call Silent Unity. Let's say that number together. 1-800-NOW-PRAY. Let's say it again. 1-800-NOW-PRAY. So call them this week. Try it out. See what your experience is like. That Silent Unity has been going on ever since the Fillmores started praying with people, and people would line up on the outside to come in to pray with them. That's where Silent Unity came from. It's been going all this time. And so at first, Unity was called the Society of Silent Help. The Society of Silent Help, because they would pray with people. And the name has morphed over the years into Silent Unity. So try that out. And by the way, we have a prayer workshop coming up. Is that this weekend?
Friday night.
It is. I'm teaching it, so I better be there. All right. So that'll be this Friday night and all day Saturday. If you're interested, thank you for pulling this up. Because you can go online also to do this. You can go online. There you go, right there, request a prayer. So you can actually do this online if you prefer to do it that way. But these people have been praying constantly, 24 hours a day for over 125 years. That's a lot of prayer. So when you go into Unity Village, and I hope you have the chance to be there physically, what you will experience is this environment of prayer, this presence of prayer. It's palpable. You can feel it. I know Reverend Levitt has been up in the prayer tower. I've been up there to pray as well. I've also been in on the telephone prayer ministry. And it's amazing, the consciousness and the work that is being done there, which was all started by the Fillmores. So the first and foremost important thing to know about Unity is that we are primarily a prayer, meditation, consciousness movement. I mean, to me, that's core, that's central. First and foremost, Unity is a prayer, meditation, consciousness movement. It's not first and foremost a business, although we certainly want to use good business practices. We want to use the best business practices we can. But first and foremost, we're about prayer. We're about shifting our consciousness. We're about helping people to evolve their consciousness and open up that Christ presence living in them. All right. Here's an aerial view of Unity Village. And again, this isn't all of it because you're not seeing the woods. The golf course is back this way. And I've hiked all over that. And then the woods are over here, and they just go and go and go. So it's a phenomenal place. And you can barely see it over here. There is a hotel and conference center. No, they don't have a graveyard. No, they do not. Thanks for asking. But they have, a green hotel, certified green hotel. That is using only environmentally friendly things in its creation and its maintenance. There was a group of 6 hotels that were the first hotels in the country to be certified as green hotels. And the Hotel and Conference Center at Unity Village was one of those 6. So, again, part of Unity is also taking care of our planet and being good stewards of our planet and treating it well. Here is, the dedication and covenant signed by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. We, Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, husband and wife, hereby dedicate ourselves, our time, our money, all that we have and all that we expect to have to the Spirit of truth, and through it to the Society of Silent Unity. It being understood and agreed that the said Spirit of truth shall render unto us an equivalent for this dedication in peace of mind, health of body, wisdom, understanding, love, life, and an abundant supply of all things necessary to meet every want without our making any of these things the object of our existence. In the presence of the conscious mind of Christ Jesus, this 7th day of December, A.D. 1892. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. So this is what they had agreed to totally give themselves to this movement, to give themselves to this avenue of assisting and helping others. Okay, Unity Village. Let me stop. Any questions or thoughts so far? Any questions or thoughts? Let's see, I see 3 hands.
Well, can an ordinary person who's not a minister go and stay for
Yes.
a few days or a week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the
anybody.
hotel, is that right?
Yeah, anybody can stay there at the hotel. Anybody can come and visit. It's a very, thank you. It's a very welcoming place. It's a very loving place. So anybody can go there. Yeah, thank you. Carol.
That was similar to the question I had. So if I wanted to stay for a month, what kind of trainings could I be part of?
They have retreats and so forth, and there is a cost associated with staying there at the hotel. But if you go to their website, if you can get online, you can go to Unity Village, and it shows the various services and things that they do and different things that they offer. Yeah, good. I think I saw another question right back here. Sorry.
Thank you. It just seems like peace and utopia to me.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place. It really is. And it's where I went to classes and had a great time connecting with people. Yes, Debbie.
Yeah, I have to apologize. I came in a little late, and I'm looking at number 2.
Yes.
Which of the 5 principles speaks of
We'll
the
get to that.
divinity? Oh, you haven't gotten to it yet?
We'll get to that.
Oh.
So you haven't missed it. I think it's in there, right? Isn't that in there? Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to say that when I go traveling, I visit other Unity churches, and I just came back from Unity Church of Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a wonderful church, beautiful grounds.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Unity churches all over the world. The second largest number of Unity churches is in Nigeria. First being United States, second largest is in Nigeria. But there's Unity churches in lots of different countries of the world. South America, Central America, Africa, Europe. So, yeah. Okay. All right. So is this the video? Okay. Oh, yes.
Are all Unity churches English speaking?
No. So there's Spanish speaking. There's all different varieties of different languages. Yeah. Probably well, let me think about this. I mean, of course, in the United States, many of them are English speaking, but there are Spanish speaking Unity churches in the United States as well. And of course, in South America, Central America, those are Spanish speaking. French. Running that through my mind, and I'm trying to see the list. I'm not sure. But, and I know that the Daily Word is published in lots of different languages too. So, we have another question. Where'd that microphone go? Sorry. Debbie? Was it? No? I was thinking that... Oh, well, it's being recorded, so...
No, I was thinking that in Canada they would probably have a few French-speaking.
Oh, yeah. I think that's probably true. In French-speaking Canada, I need to do a little more research on that. And there's not?
I don't believe. Ottawa, there are some in Ottawa. I don't know.
There are in Ottawa. Yeah, so that's something I need to research, and I should know. But right offhand, I don't. A few months ago, I saw the list of all the different countries that we had Unity churches or centers in, and there's a lot of them. And Unity Worldwide Ministries, who oversees the ministries around the world, has its headquarters there at Unity Village and has its own board who helps to govern and oversee what goes on throughout the movement. And I'm honored to be a member of that board. And so I'm the international liaison, the board, and so I should know the answer to your question, but I don't. So anyway, but yeah, we're all over the world. Okay. There is. Where is the French-speaking?
There's one in Montreal.
There's one in Montreal. Okay. And there's probably others too. I was wondering about France. I was trying to remember. Okay. Reverend Lytle, look that up. Okay. So, we ready for the video? All right. Here's a short video about Unity Village.
It's the home of the Unity movement, founded by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore.
Whoops.
A century ago, Unity was headquartered.
Can we stop it and start over? Because we'll have to turn up that volume back there so that people can hear it. All right.
This place is called Unity Village. It's the home of the Unity movement, founded by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. A century ago, Unity was headquartered in downtown Kansas City, Missouri, and the Fillmores wanted a rustic vacation spot for employees. They found property 15 miles southeast of Kansas City and called it Unity Farm. Their son Rickard fell in love with the English countryside and Mediterranean architecture. With these as inspiration, he designed Unity Village with red tile roofs, arches, courtyards, and English cottages. More than 1,000 acres of forest, a natural bridge, golf course, and 2 large lakes, from which treated water is pumped to a tank at the top of Unity Tower, are some of the unique features of Unity Village. Several buildings are on the National Register of Historic Places. Our 9-hole par 36 golf course is one of the area's hidden treasures. Visit the bookstore and coffee shop, order a latte, and find a unique gift item. The state-of-the-art Unity Village Hotel and Conference Center was the first green hotel in the Midwest. In addition to offering guests a luxurious and peaceful place to stay, the Conference Center can meet the needs of groups large and small with a variety of seating layouts and the latest technology. Unity Banquet and Dining offers rental space for meetings, conferences, weddings, and receptions, as well as full-service catering. One of the most spectacular fountains in the Kansas City area, longer than a football field, is at Unity Village. The Bridge of Faith and Rose Garden are the settings for dozens of weddings each year. Unity Village hosts numerous community events like 5K runs and group yoga. Unity Village is an amazing place to visit and explore. To learn more, call 866-348-6489 or visit us online at unityvillage.org.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's an amazing place to be. Yeah. So, a lot has developed over the years, and I made reference to the building that used to be the seminary. There is still a seminary, but it's online, so anybody can do it. And those who are getting a Master of Divinity degree, they get these classes online, and they're virtual classrooms. So people are in these classrooms at the same time, and you see each other, you interact, you go off and chat in groups and so forth. Then they come to Unity Village a couple of times a year for an intensive. So, yeah, beautiful place. And here are people working with Unity Worldwide Ministries. Donna Johnson was just here, a few weeks ago? She is the CEO and president of Unity Worldwide Ministries. Deborah Fraunfelter leads the educational arm of Unity. Wonderful, wonderful people. And there are also regional meetings. So this is a regional meeting from Unity South Central region. So you can see Olga Lucia right there when we were part of that region. So there's workshops and ways to work together on the region. Just like in this region, we have what's called the Pacific Rim region. Here we go. All right. So have we touched on all the different questions so far? And as we go through it, you'll probably see various things that might make us unique in comparison to other churches, that number 5. So let's review. Who is called the teacher of teachers? Emma Curtis Hopkins. I know, you missed that part. And you're right, Jesus, the Holy Spirit. But Emma Curtis Hopkins, because she was the teacher of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, of Ernest Holmes, of Melinda Kramer. Who are the co-founders of the Unity movement? Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Myrtle Fillmore used a powerful affirmation from E.B. Weeks to treat herself. What is that affirmation? Right. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. So, question number 2. Which of the 5 principles speaks to the divinity of humanity? Now let's look at these 5 principles one by one. First of all, there is only one presence and one power active as the universe and as my life, God the good, omnipotence. A lot of times we say God the good, omnipotence. And so we believe in unity that there's only one presence, there's one power. Now, there can be other, there we go, thank you. There can be, of course, times where people can feel very adversarial. Sometimes we can experience life as being adversarial. But we know in truth that there is truly only one presence. So, I was talking with an individual who works with Unity Worldwide Ministries. And he deals with churches in conflict. What? How could churches, especially Unity churches, have conflict? How could that happen? And so he meets with leaders from other church groups as well. And, their answer to it is, well, because we have an adversary. We have someone who's trying to defeat us. There's evil in the world and so forth. And he said, well, in Unity, we don't have that. And they're like, what? Then how do you explain the stuff that shows up in the churches that you're dealing with? Drum roll. Yeah. And so, because I know of some of these circumstances, that, wow, they have to deal with some of these challenging churches sometimes where people get locked into their beliefs and they want to fight with each other and they want to be right and they want to make others wrong. And, it gets nasty and not quite Unity-like. And so my friend says to these other church leaders, in explaining how that could happen, he said, we know that there's only one presence and one power, but not everyone is showing up as that. Not everyone is living their lives from that. Not everyone is conscious of that. And wounded people can come into our church, and wounded people can come into our spiritual community, and they can, let's just have one talking at a time. Yeah. So, people can come into the church because it's sort of like an emergency room. It's not like a spa all the time. I mean, sometimes it's like an emergency room where people come in kind of battered and beaten up from life and can bring that woundedness with them into the church and not always be aware of that Christness of their being, not always be aware of that spiritual presence, that divine presence that they are. So they may act in fear. And when a person is afraid, they become adversarial. It doesn't mean that this is wrong. It just means that we're not always living in the truth of it. Okay, the second principle, since there's only one presence, that means somehow we must be the outpicturing, the representation, the expression of that presence. So the second principle is that is our true essence, is God. Therefore, we are inherently good. Now I know life sometimes makes it look very much not like that. And people do some atrocious things and hurtful things. And it's a challenge for some of us who really believe this, and we think, well, okay, but how is it true for that person? But what I have realized, and this has to do with a lot of the classes that Reverend Levitt has been teaching, what I've realized is that the more I can see the truth of this in myself, the more I can see it in others, even when they're not acting like it. Because there's times where I don't act like it either. It's hard to believe, I know, but yeah. But there have been times, yeah. Because we're in this human experience. And the human experience often feels like there's division, separation, dualism. But our true essence. So that question number 2, which of the 5 principles speaks of the divinity of humanity? It would be this one. It's principle number 2. And these are the basic general principles. There's a whole lot of other principles and teachings besides these, but these are the 5 basic principles upon which the unity movement is founded and operates. Principle number 3, we are co-creators with God, or another way of expressing that is that we are this self-livingness of the presence of God. And so we can, by our thoughts, by our words, by various things, we can create our experience of life, as we'll see in the next principle. We are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. There is something called the law of mind action. It's worded different ways. Here's one way. It's an easy way to remember. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Let's say that together. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. The things we think about, the feelings we nurture, the things that we dwell on, we have the ability to draw into our lives or to draw ourselves to those experiences. So the person who believes that there aren't any good men in the world, there aren't any good men to be had in the world, they get into a relationship many times in a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sure enough, they find someone that's not good, or at least in their experience it doesn't seem good. So when you are experiencing something, you might want to look at, what are my beliefs about this? Now, did I see your hand up, Brian? Or were you just stretching? You were just sending the love. All right, okay. I didn't know if you had a question. Any questions so far on this? All right. Principle number 4, and this is about prayer and meditation, which again is a core foundation of unity. That's why, to me, the prayer chaplains, our healing and meditation service on Wednesday evenings, I mean, that's the core of what we are about. Through prayer and meditation, we align our heart, our mind with God, with that God presence. Denials and affirmations are tools we use. Again, denials are gently sweeping things away that are error. Let's see, let me come up with an example. Okay, here's one. So I used to have this belief system that people would not want to meet me. People wouldn't want to know me. In fact, I think most people would just rather not know me at all. I used to have that belief system. Yeah? I mean, you can't imagine it now, I hope, because that's changed so much. But there was a extended period in my life where I actually believed that. So when someone showed interest in me, I was very distrusting. Because it couldn't be because they liked me. It couldn't be because they saw something good in me. They must be up to something. Yeah, I lived that way for several years. And it's a real yucky way to live. You know? And so I kept this belief system going. But I began to realize and shift that. I would begin to realize, there are people who seem to like me, and I would use denials and affirmations. A denial in this particular instance might be, there is nothing about me that is unpleasant. That's a denial. It's gently sweeping it away. An affirmation would be, I'm the presence of God in action. Of course people want to get to know me. Right? I mean, not to become egotistical, but just to get to the truth of it and to do a treatment. And I would do these treatments on myself. And I'd need to step out. So I began taking speech classes so that I could talk in front of people. And so I could talk to people. And began to realize, I like this. People respond. And kept working on it. So you use denials and affirmations as ways to shift your experience of life. And principle number 5, through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. It's not enough just to know it, but we need to live it. We need to act on it. We need to live it in our daily lives. So it's not something just for Sunday. It's something that we continue to live out. I was talking recently about Morris, who recently made his transition. He lived in Ottawa, Canada, and he was to arrive here January
He was coming January 9th.
January 9th. So his plan was to be here the middle of next week. Or the middle of this week. And he had told me that he would see me and he would do foot massage, and he sent me this message recently. He said, Reverend Tim, I love you. You are in my heart. You are always in my heart. And it was just a few days after that he made his transition. Now, he didn't talk with me a whole lot about unity principles. He didn't have to. He lived it. You could see it. You could see it by the way he lived. Again, I think of this story from the life of St. Francis, where St. Francis was known as this wonderful, effective preacher. And this person followed St. Francis around all day while St. Francis was doing these good deeds. And St. Francis didn't say a word all day. And finally, this student got frustrated, and St. Francis wanted to know why the student was frustrated. He said, I've been with you all day because I've heard you were a great preacher, and I wanted to learn how to preach. But you haven't said anything all day. We've just been serving others, but you haven't said anything. And St. Francis said, preach the gospel always. And if necessary, use words. So the best way is to live that truth. And I know it always speaks to me and speaks to my heart when people actually live it. And that's what we are called to do here as a spiritual community. I mean, if we are behaving in ways that we are not living these principles, then something needs to be corrected. Something needs to be brought back into alignment. Or if something is going on in our lives, we need to bring ourselves into alignment. And the prayer chaplains that we have here are ready and willing to pray with you and know the truth with you so that we can align with this truth. Any questions? Questions? Okay. 12 powers. I think, okay. That's all right. So the 12 powers. Oh, we have handouts. Oh, thank you. You're going to get a card. And let's give a hand to Diana and Levitt and Sean. They help us with so many things. Oh my goodness. And part of the way that some of these folks live this truth is by volunteering and serving and supporting others. And some of these people, most of these people, well, actually, yeah, most of these people who volunteer and support and help here are those who work on staff. They're not looking for all kinds of recognition. Let's see, do we have one more for Doug? Did we run out? Oh. They're doing it from a heart of service. They're doing it from a heart of ministry. So the 12 powers. Oh, before I move to that. So if you want to volunteer here in some way, we'd love to have you get involved. It's a great way to get to know people, great way to connect. I got involved as a minister in Unity by first volunteering. I volunteered to help with things just because I wanted to. Then I got involved in the prayer chaplain ministry. And so, 12 powers. These, and we'll go into more depth about this in future classes. But Charles Fillmore designed this, what he saw in the scripture, like the 12 apostles, representing 12 powers that are in each one of us. And that these 12 powers are ways to reveal our divine self, to reveal our Christ self. And so the first one is faith. And this is the order that I use. Some churches use different orders. But faith, love, strength, wisdom, mastery, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, release or elimination, and life. So these 12 powers are things that in Unity we talk about developing and bringing forth these powers so that we can manifest this divine presence, this Christ presence, active in and as each one of us. Any questions about that right now? I'll probably go over that in more depth in a subsequent class. But, okay, we need a microphone. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Diana. All right. And when I took a 12 Powers class, it was a life changer for me. I didn't quite understand it before I took the class. And once I took the class, it's like, wow. It literally changed my life. Yes, you have a question?
I don't know if this is appropriate, but I was looking for the definition of, what would you say, the unity belief that of the Bible is said very short. It just eluded me, whatever that was.
Okay, Unity's view of the Bible?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for asking. Because I want people to feel free.
That's what I'm wondering what that word means.
Okay. So Unity's belief about the Bible, how we view the Bible. The Bible is our textbook. The Hebrew Scriptures, also called the Old Testament, the Christian Scriptures, also called the New Testament, that is our textbook. We have also drawn from other faith traditions to find universal spiritual truths that align with the Bible as well. I don't know if this is the word that you were asking about, but unity looks at the Bible in multiple ways. We look at the history of it. We look at the context of it. Because all of Scripture that we have in the Hebrew and Christian scriptures comes from a context. For example, the book of Philippians, which is in the New Testament, it's one of the letters that Paul wrote. The book of Philippians, he was writing to the people that lived in a city called Philippi. He was in prison. We know he was in prison at the time because of what he says in the letter. And it helps to know the context so that when he says something like, consider it all joy when you encounter difficulties, you know he's not just giving lip service to it. He's saying this while he's in prison. And when he says something like, you can do all things through the one who strengthens you. So it helps to know the context. But one of the words that we use in unity is the word metaphysical. Meta means greater than, beyond, and physical. So greater than the physical, that is beyond just the surface of things. I was doing some metaphysical interpretation. I didn't necessarily tell everyone that's what I was doing, but I was doing it in the Sunday morning services. When I was talking about the wise men representing the wisdom that is inside us. And that inner wisdom looking to the light, looking to that vision, looking to what would draw them to the Christ, to the divine presence. In metaphysical interpretation, when we read Scripture, we see it all as being about the unfoldment and development of our own consciousness. So not only were there magi, wise men, who came from the east looking for Jesus, but each one of us has wisdom within us who is looking for that Christ presence, looking in what seems to be the night. But in that darkness that we have found ourselves in, we find a light, and we follow that light, and we get closer and closer to it until the Christ in us is revealed. That's a metaphysical interpretation of that story. So unity tends to view Scripture in this way, in a way that it's interactive, that it's personal, that it's speaking to my situation and the development of my own consciousness. So we very much revere the Bible and see it as our primary textbook to assist us in our learning and in our teachings. Any questions about, Marcia, Bonita?
It was pointed out to me when I first came, the 12 powers of man, and I noticed each month is a color.
Yes.
So it was pointed out to me
Right.
that that's the color of the month.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you. And that was something that was added later. Initially, that wasn't necessarily part of the Fillmore's construct, but people began to align a month with it, a color, and so in January, a number of us will wear some shade of blue, and so you can see Peter is the apostle that aligns with the power of faith. And we see the body as having energy centers. Not that it's physical in nature, but energy centers within our body that these different powers can be activated. Okay, center of the brain for faith. And then there's a definition here, and hopefully that's on your cards, the ability to believe into it and perceive. And then there's an affirmation. Faith blesses my day and paves my way. So when you look at your belief systems, you are dealing with the power of faith. Your belief systems very much determine the directions that you're going to take. Let me give an example. If I'm in a new town and I see an Indian restaurant or a Thai restaurant, my belief system is that would be probably one of my favorite places to go. And I lock in mind the location and many times go back to it. It's based on my belief system. We all use these powers all the time. It's not like we have to find them. We all use them. You use the power of belief all the time, which is the power of faith. But are you using it in a way that is constructive and helpful for you? Are you using it in a way that benefits society? Are you using it in a way that helps your consciousness to expand, that helps your spirit to deepen? Same with the power of love. The power of love is the ability to attract, unify, and desire. You know, like you've heard someone say, oh, I just love that type of sandwich, or oh, I love that kind of car, or oh, I love my job, or ooh, I love you, baby, or whatever. It's based on attraction and desire. And when that happens, it's a harmonizing influence. And so we draw ourselves to that, or draw it to us, what it is that we are loving, what it is that we are attracted to and desiring. And so it's a unifying principle in that it tends to connect us. The power of love connects us with what it is that we are loving. The question is, what is it that you're really loving? And are you using it in a way that is healthy? So all of these powers, we use them. In Unity, we learn how to use them in ways, just like the toolbox that my parents gave me. I put dents and lots of wood. I'd cut stuff up. I'd be pounding on the furniture, you know, because I needed some training how to use these tools. I had a hammer, I had a saw, but no one had taught me how to use it. So I just run around and see what I could do with it. In Unity, we want to help you to learn how to use these tools so that you can use it in your life to develop the life that you want. Any questions about that? That's a real general overview of the 12 powers. And thank you for coming up with the cards so that people can take that with them. Don't think I'll go there. Okay. So, online, we need to get them this thing to fill out so that we know that they have watched us online, and that will be evidence that you attended the class. And remember, not everyone was in here. Your homework is to contact Silent Unity. And the number for Silent Unity, and let's say it together, 1-800-NOW-PRAY. They're available anytime, day or night. You can just call them and say, I'm thankful for such and such, or I need prayers for this or that. It's a real spiritual experience. At least it has been for me whenever I have called. So that would be your homework. And these are the questions. Oh, okay, so we do have the questions online. But
No, they're not online. That's on the slide.
just on the slide. Okay. All right. So, are there any other questions or thoughts that anyone has about Unity or about what we've covered today? Catherine. And by the way, Catherine Burton is one of our licensed Unity teachers, helps teach classes here. Yay.
I have a question. If it's not appropriate, then we can answer it another time. You know, the world often has a political paradigm for making decisions, and it's my way or your way, and we, get people to do it our way and all that. I'm wondering what Unity Worldwide Ministry, what do they have processes for decision making at their level so that it's unified, win-win, collaborative? Do they have a paradigm for decision making?
Yes. The people at Unity Worldwide Ministries are quite trained in nonviolent communication and, communication skills. And I'll just speak from my own experience. That's the best way I can speak to it, is being on the Unity Worldwide Ministries board. We have a large board, I think 12 people, like 12 apostles or something. So there's 12 of us, plus the CEO, president of Unity Worldwide Ministries, plus the COO, CFO, chief operating officer, chief financial officer, and the administrative assistant. So we have all of these people, and we meet together. We'll meet together for 4 days straight, 4 times a year, 4 days straight, starting early in the morning, going until the evening, and then we often have evening activities together as well. 4 times a year. The other months, we do it online. So we see each other, but we're having an online board meeting. We come from different perspectives. But what's amazing to me is that no perspective there is ever considered bad. No perspective there is put down. Every person has the opportunity to say what it is they feel they need to say. Every person is listened to. I remember when I was new on this board and something was being proposed that I had issues with. I had some serious issues with. And I could see that it was moving right along. And again, I was fairly new on the board, and so I was wondering, if I am the only person who dissents, if I am the only person who disagrees, how will that be perceived? How will that go over in this board meeting? Well, do I want to just stay in silence? Or was I elected here so that I could speak my truth? So, I ended up speaking my truth. And the person who was the chair of that board is a very strong leader. And I wondered how it would go over. And the chair of the board said, let's stop everything. Let's not move this towards a vote yet. Let's talk this through. Let's listen to what Tim's concerns are and look at those one by one and see if there is a way that we can all come together and all be working together and be on the same page. I thought, wow, you can do that? What a concept. And so that's what we did. She put the agenda on hold until we could discuss that and discuss through all those points until we all felt clear. Now, occasionally, there are times where there's just going to be a difference, and when there's a difference, we all work together as one, regardless of how we voted. We all work together as one. But there's so much respect and so much love for one another and so much trust. And we've shared with each other about the things going on in our lives. And it doesn't go anywhere else. It is completely held sacred and confidential. So we build this trust. And we love being with each other. We love coming to board meetings. And when I tell people that I'm going to be in board meetings for 4 days straight, and most of those evenings I'm going to be with board members as well in different activities, I get these reactions like, ooh, ooh, oh. But for me, it's one of the highlights of the year. And to me, that shows unity principle in action. Yeah, so there is a different style of decision-making process that, to me, embodies unity principles. Any other questions? All right. Hey, you're a wonderful class, wonderful group. Let's see. I think we'll have a closing meditation, a quickie. Oops. Let me sit for this. So if you get into a comfortable position in your seats, take in and out a slow, deep breath. And give thanks for this time together. We are grateful. Grateful to all connect in this one truth, this one peace, this one presence. We are one. Anything unlike that oneness, we lift into this presence and let it dissipate and disappear into its native nothingness. We are all one. We are one presence. Feel the peace flowing in you, surrounding you. We've heard a lot today, and we open our hearts to accept whatever it is that works for us, whatever it is that speaks to us. We allow Spirit to do its mighty work. We open ourselves to truth. We open ourselves to peace. We are peace. We are truth. We are wisdom. We lift into this presence all those who have gathered here today, whether watching us virtually or whether here physically. We know each life is blessed, anointed and surrounded in the Spirit. We are grateful for this peace, this presence. Again, take a deep breath. Allow yourself to be aware of where it is we are sitting. If you wish, move your fingers, your toes. Gradually come and be present. And when you're ready, open your eyes. We give thanks for this time together. And I give thanks for all of you.